One question that does come up a lot, and it's actually one that should come up a lot, and it causes a bit of confusion, is the topic of trance and how to get into a trance. And as magic users, this is something that we need to do. But let's just do the intro and we'll have a better look at it. So welcome back to my channel. I'm Lee Johnson, and if this is your first time here, you can subscribe, but do all the usual stuff like subscribe, hit the notification bell so you know when videos are coming out. And if you'd like to really support the channel, you can hit the join button, or if a particular video does help you in any particular way, you can leave a super thanks. Alright, so now I've gotten all of that out of the way. Let's have a look at trance. So I think, one of the biggest problems is that a lot of people, well, we all, me included, we read books and we read websites and we watch YouTube videos and people talk about trance, getting into a trance. And it kind of comes across as this state where you are completely and utterly devoid of everything physical. You are completely in a different world. You are taken from this plane into a different plane, and it kind of gets portrayed as something which is difficult to achieve. You've got various terms that we use: twilight sleep, altered states of consciousness, shamanic states of consciousness, and all of these things that kind of come into play and get interpreted in particular ways. But getting into a trance state is actually not as difficult as we think it is, and it's something we do all the time. We just don't recognize it, and therefore when we are doing a meditation or we are doing some kind of magic work, we try to push it a bit more than we actually need to try and get to this place where, this otherworldly, altered state of consciousness, which is transferring us physically into this other plane. And it's really not as difficult as that. So firstly, secondly, why would we want to get into a trance? Most of magic uses trance work. You get yourself into a state which does remove you from this mundane physical world, in a sense. Now, when we say that, what we're saying is a simple experiment, easy experiment. Sit down where you are now, if you're not sitting already. Close your eyes, and just for a moment, just figure out what's happening, what's going on in your head, and just be quiet. And right now, you're thinking, when's Lee going to talk? But if you just let it go for a while, maybe this is not the best time to do it. So do it at any other stage, but just sit for 5 minutes and just allow your brain to just do what it normally does. And you'll be thinking about what's for supper, what you need to do tomorrow, the email you need to send, all of these things that are going on, and you're going to be having noises around you, so you're going to be focusing on those noises. So somebody slams the door downstairs, you visualize the person slamming the door downstairs. You create an entire scenario in your head which starts to play out. And then there's a car that screeches in the road, and you visualize the car. So, all of these things are going on in your head constantly. It's the monkey mind. And when we look into meditation, we always come up against this. When you start meditating, it's the first thing that comes to your attention. Now, when we go into a trance state, what happens is we simply shut out all of that stuff and we go inward. And when you've been in a trance state, you recognize it because you've maybe done a guided meditation, you've been on a journey into an alternate world or a non-ordinary world. You've done something, you've done some kind of act, and it may be a physical act, you may be doing a spell working, you may be just doing the lesser banishing ritual of the pentagram. Whatever it is, you get into this trance state, and you usually, at the beginning, you usually only recognize it after it's done. And you sit back and you realize, hang on a minute, I was doing all this stuff, I was taking this journey, I was doing all these movements around the circle, I was doing this particular thing, and all of these things were going on around me and I didn't hear any of it. It would just all disappeared. You might find that you've been sitting in a position which makes your legs ache or go numb or something like that, and you don't notice it until you finish and you come out of the journey or out of the guided meditation and you realize, oh damn, my leg's sore. That is the trance state. That's the trance state that we keep talking about. So I like to call it going into the inner temple. So what happens is you go inward and you go into a space which is purely just you, and everything around you just disappears for a while. And when I say we do this all the time, if you daydream, you've been in a trance state. If you have had those moments where you completely zone out, you've been in a trance state. If you do a particular type of work which you get completely engrossed in and hours go by and you don't realize that you haven't been to the toilet, you haven't eaten, you haven't had a cup of coffee or a glass of water for hours, and you kind of come out of it and you realize, damn, hours have gone by, you've been in a trance state. If you have watched a movie or read a book which you can get completely engrossed in, and the same thing happens, you go for hours just reading this book, you are completely immersed in it, you've been in a trance state. If you have, if you drive your car to work every day and it's the same journey, the same route that you take every single day, you probably find that at some point you're going to be driving and you start thinking about other things, and 10-15 minutes of driving have gone by and you can't remember what happened. You don't remember if you went through a particular traffic light or stopped at a particular stop street, but you did it automatically. You've been in a trance state. So we do get into trance states every day, and it's just going into that inner space and removing ourselves, or let me not say ourselves, but our awareness. Our awareness gets shifted. So our awareness gets removed from everything that's happening around us, and we go into an inner space, into the inner temple, and that's where we do magic. Now, we can get into a trance state and still move and be aware. You'll find that you can be in a trance state where you are completely immersed in what you're doing, no matter what it is, whether it's physically moving around a temple space or a circle, or physically doing a particular spell working act, or whether you are taking some kind of internal journey, whether it's a guided meditation or a shamanic journey or anything like that. You will find that you still have awareness. It's hard to explain. It's kind of like you are in this inner temple, but there's something outside which is watching, being alert, staying aware. And if something needs to be communicated to you, if something is happening, it will go, "Oi, this is happening." And then you can pull yourself out. So you are completely aware of what's going on. You're not physically going anywhere. You are not astrally, your astral body is not moving out of your body and you're going somewhere else. You are still remaining in this space where you are physically. Your awareness is just shifting to a different place. And that means that your awareness gets completely removed from the physical. You're not even aware of your physical body. You just get completely immersed in what's happening. And this is why you can get into trance states, even when you are moving around in a physical space. You just completely forget about what your body's doing, and you just move. One of the best ways to do this is to do spontaneous dancing, and there are various forms of spontaneous dancing, but get yourself dancing in a way which you are moving with the energy itself, and then you start shifting into a trance state and you become completely unaware of your body, but it's still moving. So you are physically moving, but you are in this inner temple space. We also talk about getting into a trance state in order to activate a sigil. Now, that is the same thing. You do move into this inner temple space where you are physically unaware of what's going on around you. But with that particular trance state, what you're aiming for, the aim is kind of slightly different. What you're aiming for is a moment when you completely shift between states. So you have this physical state. I'm just going to create this physical state and this alternate state, this altered state. All right. And as you start shifting from the physical into the altered state, there's a moment where you are between them. And it's that moment between them that you need in order to transfer the sigil into the unconscious mind and activate it. So again, you need to know how to do trance work, and you need to be able to do trance work in order to do that. It's just that you're not going into this completely, you don't need to go into this completely altered state in order to do the work itself. It's that in-between place that you need for that particular work. But still, you need to know how to do trance work. So this is why I wanted to talk about this today. And it's not just a case of I don't know how to get into trance. It's often a case of I don't know what trance is. A lot of people have done work for a long period of time and they still cannot figure out what this trance is. The thing is, they've been in that trance state multiple times. They just, as I said, we read books and we watch videos and we do, read websites and what have you. And the way it gets portrayed is something out of this world, completely out of this world, when it's actually not. And people have been in trance states multiple times, but because they are expecting this other thing to happen, they don't realize they have been. And therefore, they just need to come to an understanding of what this trance state actually is. It is that you can sit down and just meditate. In fact, it's probably one of the best ways to actually practice trance, is to simply just do meditation. And meditation where you are releasing yourself of thoughts. And probably not even that. I mean, there are various types of meditations. I mean, you can actually do a meditation where you actually you focus on the thoughts that are going through and you allow them to run through. And then you can change that to letting the thoughts run and then grabbing onto one and holding onto that for that one thought for the whole period of the meditation. You can meditate with music, you can meditate with sound, with noise. You can focus on the noises around you and pull them in, but just don't create a visualization. There's tons and tons and tons of different ways you can meditate. But what often happens is, I'm not going to say it happens with everybody because I don't think it does, but I know it happens for me and it happens for a lot of people, so it might be worth actually just exploring this, is that once you've been sitting still for a period of time, you slip into an inner temple state, and that's often around about 15 to 20 minutes. It's usually around the 18-minute mark that it happens, and then it starts to happen in cycles after that. But what happens is around about that 18-minute mark, you may all of a sudden get a sudden flash or some kind of awareness that kind of takes you, and you'll find that you're then in a trance state. You may have been, your awareness may have just been floating around. All of a sudden this awareness just comes at you, and it kind of jolts you out of this floaty state, but you're in a trance state. So you are completely unaware of what's going on around you physically. You are in the inner temple space. So if you find that happens to you, use that, and then you can use that to actually recognize when you're in a trance state during other methods, or when using other methods. All right. I think I've covered everything. If I haven't, if you've got any questions, just ask me in the comments, and I'll get to answer them there. All right, so that's it for this week. I hope you have a fantastic week, and I'll see you soon. Cheers for now.